There is a record inside the Vatican archives that does not match what you were taught about early Christianity. Not slightly, not symbolically, but fundamentally, so completely that if it were widely known, the Church's entire origin story would collapse. You were taught that early Christianity was unified. That belief flowed cleanly from Jesus to the apostles, from the apostles to their successors. One doctrine, one authority, one uninterrupted line of truth. But this record tells a different story, a story of conflict, of rival leaders, of threats, of communities accusing each other of heresy, of Christianity fighting itself for control. And the Church hid this record because it proves something dangerous. Early Christianity was not one faith. It was a battlefield. The record is known as the Syrian Roman correspondence of the 2nd century, a collection of letters exchanged between Christian leaders in Syria, Palestine, Egypt, and Rome. Written between roughly 120 and 180 AD. These letters are not polite theological reflections. They are aggressive. They accuse and they threaten excommunication. They demand submission. They document power struggles over who gets to define what Christianity even is. They show bishops refusing to recognize Roman authority, communities splitting over doctrine, entire regions following versions of Christianity that Rome considered unacceptable. And most importantly, they show that in the 2nd century there was no single Christianity. There were many. Now compare that to the official story you were taught. Jesus teaches the apostles. The apostles pass the teaching unchanged. Bishops preserve doctrine faithfully. Rome leads. Everyone follows. The narrative is the foundation of apostolic succession. The claim that the Church's authority comes directly from Jesus himself. But the letters show this story never existed. According to the correspondence, Eastern Christian communities did not see the Roman bishop as supreme. They saw him as one leader among many, no higher, no final authority. Jerusalem claimed authority because Jesus taught there. Antioch claimed authority because Paul preached there. Alexandria claimed authority through Mark. Rome claimed authority because Peter died there. And the Eastern bishops openly rejected Rome's attempts to dictate doctrine. The letters record this rejection clearly, not implied, explicit. Even more destabilizing is what these communities believed. Many Eastern Christians did not believe Jesus was God. They believed he was chosen, adopted, empowered by God, but not God himself. They kept Jewish law. They observed the Sabbath on Saturday. They circumcised their children. They prayed toward Jerusalem. They believed Christianity was a continuation of Judaism, not a replacement. They rejected Paul as a corrupter of Jesus' original message. And entire regions followed this form of Christianity, not fringe groups, major communities. Rome could not tolerate this because Rome was already building something else. A theology centered on Jesus as divine, a church separate from Judaism, a hierarchy with Roman supremacy at the top. The letters document Rome's response: threats, demands, excommunications, submit or be cut off, accept Roman doctrine or be declared heretic. They even describe book seizures, Roman representatives confiscating alternative gospels, burning texts used by Jewish Christian communities, removing bishops who refused to comply. This was not theology, this was enforcement, and Rome eventually won because it gained political power, especially after Constantine. This matters because the Church claims its doctrine is original, passed directly from Jesus. But if Christians closer to Jesus' lifetime rejected Roman beliefs, then those beliefs are not original. They are developments, imposed later. The letters reveal a geographic divide. Western Christianity evolved one way, Eastern Christianity evolved another. Two incompatible traditions, using the same name. If this record is so dangerous, why was it preserved at all? Because it could not be destroyed. It was official correspondence. Too many copies existed. Too many communities had seen it. So the Church did something more effective. It locked it away, restricted access, controlled who could read it, and never mentioned it in official history. Even modern scholars face resistance, requests denied, access limited, photography forbidden, publication restricted, and passages quietly labeled damaged or illegible. Scholars who have seen the manuscripts report that many of these sections are perfectly readable. They are simply inconvenient. What these letters ultimately show is this: Christian truth was not revealed, it was selected. One version won, not through clarity, not through consensus, but through power. This explains the Council of Nicaea. It was not about discovering truth, it was about choosing which Christianity would be official. The vote on Jesus' divinity was political, and it was backed by imperial authority. After that, diversity ended, not naturally, but by force. Communities were closed, leaders exiled, texts destroyed, uniformity imposed. The doctrine of apostolic succession collapses under this record. Multiple succession lines existed, multiple claims to authority. Rome won. Winning does not equal truth. It equals control. What was lost? Jewish Christianity, mystical traditions, female leadership, alternative understandings of Jesus, all erased to create something manageable. And this is not just ancient history. The same pattern continues. Suppress, discredit, control the narrative, protect the institution. Academic historians know this, but ordinary believers are never told, because if they were, church authority would not survive intact. The Syrian Roman correspondence proves early Christianity was fragmented, contested, human, political, not divinely unified. And the Church hides this because it destroys the myth that gives it power. The myth of an unbroken chain. The myth of original purity. The myth of unquestionable authority. There is a record. It contradicts the story, and it is locked away. Your question is not whether this record exists. It does. The real question is this: if the Church needs to hide its own history to preserve its authority, what does that say about the authority itself?